Hi all, my name is Aditi Bhatia and my teammates' names are Shah, Emran, and Jake Tran. Starting July 6th of 2020 and working hard through the rest of the month, we as a team were able to come up with our final project, which we lovingly call Bootable. Our project description basically stated that we would be designing and coding a suite of web components that most aspiring web developers could use to get a head start on their apps. Our framework would be open source, so anyone who chose to use it could alter, contribute, and extend upon its functionality according to their own personal needs. This was a pretty vague description, especially for us starting off, so we were really thrilled to learn more and combine our visions as it came along. We were placed into a team of 3 with our amazing mentor, Mr. Wilson Hobbs, and thus the work began. Our first week, we learned what Figma even was, since none of us had used it before. For context, Figma is a collaborative interface design tool. It's browser-based and used for UI/UX projects. Everyone can just contribute to one project like Google Docs, which is how we started. We needed a theme for our project since we couldn't build a layout or design components without any idea of what they would be used for. Together, we decided to loosely base our project off of e-commerce websites such as Amazon or Shopify. Then, when we designed pages, we knew which components to flesh out, like a product rating system, Q&A section, and product information page. These are obviously things you'll see on an e-commerce website. The hard yet rewarding part came with the next 3 weeks of our internship. We had to begin coding these components in hopes of making a rough demo website at the end. This was a super daunting task, so it was really nice to work week by week and have an end of week goal that we were working towards. None of us had ever used Stencil.js before, so when our mentor told us that we'd be using it, we knew each of us would have to take time out simply to learn what the software was and how we would be using it. But it became such a help and we really, really enjoyed it. My name is Aditi, and throughout the internship, I worked on quite a few components, with my favorites being a 5-star rating system and an alert system. These really stood out to me because they required a lot of hard work, but resulted in some really cool components. I had only ever coded in Java before I started this internship, so I was instantly afraid and concerned about if I'd be able to contribute enough or not. I had to take the first few days of our second week and dedicate them solely to learning how to use Stencil.js and learning the basics of HTML and CSS and a lot more. It was nice to see how quickly I could learn on my own, and that knowledge was truly being tested with each component that I made. So everything I was learning, I was instantly applying it. The 5-star rating system is a component that could be used among many apps and websites. All websites that sell products have a page where customers can rate the product or rate their satisfaction with the service. I coded 5 outlined stars and they weren't filled in. The idea was that a user's mouse could basically highlight how many stars they wanted to rate and click, assigning a rating. This was difficult though because I coded the stars and was able to see them when I ran the code, but then I thought it would be nice to add some functionality to the whole thing, which is where the idea came to make the star rating dynamically increase or decrease with the user's cursor moving. I had absolutely no idea how to go about this end goal. I just knew I wanted to do it, but I knew it would require component lifecycle methods such as component will load and the on mouse over event. Through a whole workday, I was finally able to make this one component work, and looking back now, I see the code for my TSX file was only 47 lines long. Though this might come off as like super simple to someone more experienced, I'm really proud as I look through the code because it was special to me. Once I saw the component running, I really started having fun and felt like I was grasping the topic better. Secondly, my alert system was one of my more exciting ventures as well, as I made these buttons that would show up on the screen in a bright color and they would only go away if the user pressed OK to acknowledge the alert. I thought this could be used among most apps and websites too, not necessarily only an e-commerce website, because alerts are common among all sites and apps. I mean, we see the 20% battery alert on our phones all the time, so it was really nice to be able to make my own version of such an important component. I truly enjoyed this internship so much, and it was really nice working with such a helpful and collaborative team.
Hi, my name is Jake Tran, and my favorite component in this project I personally coded were the card component and the tag component. I enjoy working on the front end and seeing how changes in my code would impact what I see on the screen. This internship basically put me in a project with two other person that, and we all had a little bit background experience with. But it tested my knowledge and it expanded on its functionality. The card component was a great experience because it was one of the more challenging one for me. There were so many details that went into the card component, so it wasn't something I could quickly code and come up with. I took my time and I liked adding the details and seeing the final results. Just dive into the UI/UX related components was super interesting. When we had to design simple web pages on Figma, no code was involved, so we went into super into details and made pages look very inventive. But when it came to actually implementing the components and coding the components, I saw how details all can be, and it can be challenging to make a generalized component that can work in all web pages and all browsers. The tag component was my other favorite because it was actually relatively easy and it looked very nice. However, the fun part was actually the customization for me and how unique it could turn out. I knew what our theme was for the project, so it was easy to envision how it would turn out. Truly, I had a lot of fun and I could see myself really enjoying the visual aspect of the components. Collab has been such a rewarding experience, and I'm very thankful for this opportunity this summer to keep working on my technical skill and as well as my communication skill with my amazing teammates.
Hi, my name is Shah Emran, and I'm one of the team members of Bootable. It has been a great learning experience to work on this project. We use Stencil as our web component compiler, and has been a lot of learning and research to utilize this tool for this project. Out of all the web components, my favorite component in this project would have to be the header, footer, and progress bar. The progress bar was easily one of my more challenging components because it required some JavaScript code on the index file. I really had to do my research and play around with the code to understand how each change I made could result in the code potentially running or giving me an error message. The header and footer were easily to create, but they were especially fun to me since I could customize the components to how I would want them. The header and footer can be used as a placeholder for buttons, a login, search bar, social media links, and more. So it gives you an idea of how important these two components are to make in order to use it in an app or a website. I'm proud of how it turned out. An enjoyable part of this project was how it was a loose guideline and we got to be creative with it. It was a summer of growth and fun challenges. We are super thrilled with all we accomplished, so we would like to show our demo videos. The following demo videos are what we submitted at our weekly check-ins for weeks 1, 2, 3, and 4. We believe they perfectly encapsulated the steps we had to take each week to get to our final goal, and they show how much we have learned too. Thank you.
Hi, our team consists of Shah Imran, Jake Tran, and Aditi Bhatia. Our project goes by the name of Bootable, and as a quick overview, our goal is to build a library of common web app components that a singular web app developer or small group, for example, can use to start their app without worrying about the details of responsive layouts and advanced CSS. For our first week at work, we familiarized ourselves with Figma, a collaborative interface design tool. We decided to design a layout of an e-commerce shop. Our design pages consisted of a landing page, a product page, and a review page. Through using Figma, we were able to come up with a color scheme, design layout, and list of components that we could work on. For example, we have a 5-star rating system, breadcrumb, buttons, navigation, and more. For our second week at work, we are using Stencil.js, a compiler that helps us build web components to create the components that we had designed. This is where the coding actually kicks in. Some of the components we focus on so far include the 5-star rating system, some buttons, and a fill-in form. This small demo shows how we've been able to code 5 stars and have an interactive way to use it. A user could use this component to review a product. Another aspect we've been working on is the addition of buttons, which are obviously needed for any app. We have a fill-in form that could be used when inputting personal information to purchase a product. Other components we have planned out include a breadcrumb, drop-downs, lists, tables, and more. It's a work in progress as we each come from different CS backgrounds, but we're so thrilled to be working and learning together.
Hi, this is Bootable. Our team consists of 3 members, Shah Imran, Jake Tran, and Aditi Bhatia. In our first week, we created the design layout using a tool called Figma, and then started implementing the code in a web component compiler called Stencil. In our second week, we have managed to create most of the components geared towards our goal. For example, here you can see a footer, progress bar, and a header on the top with few buttons. Next, we managed to create a model and a drop-down button, which are essential web components for an app or a website. We also made alerts that could appear on an e-commerce website. They match our color scheme of teal and pink, and when the OK button is pressed, the teal box disappears. This means that when the user has acknowledged the alert, it goes away. We are now focusing on completing our next milestone and pushing the code to GitHub. It is an exciting project to be part of, and we are learning as we complete each task. Thank you.
Hello, welcome to Bootable. Our team know that starting a web app in 2020 can be a challenging task with various foundation requirements such as HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. That's why we have created Bootable, a simple and lightweight library of common web apps components that anyone can use to start their app without worrying about the nuances and responsive layout of advanced CSS. Our team consists of Shah Emran, Tran, and Aditi Bhatia. For the design stage, we use Figma, a collaborative design software in which we create simple web apps to help us envision how we want to design our components. As for the implementation, we decided to use Stencil, a compiler that generates web components, more specifically custom elements, and build high-performance web apps. Since Stencil creates standard compliance web components, they can work with many other popular frameworks or without any at all, because they are just web components. So far, we have successfully created many beautiful components, and for this demo, we want to show off a couple that we have created in a very simple web app consists of only HTML, CSS, and the library itself. First off, we have the navigation bar, which is dynamically laid out in standard CSS, so you do not need to do the layout yourself. You just simply need to create the custom element itself. This also has a nested custom search bar component that we built and can be used as a child element. Moving on, we have the standard elements such as buttons, drop-downs, and tags, in which you can dynamically change color and shape using CSS variable. Next, we have the different input type for different needs as well as the slider. We also implemented loaders components and progress components, and those can be tricky to style. Finally, for many of the e-commerce websites, we have a product card header that is beautiful and modern, which also include a custom rating system component that we built. We still have much to learn, but this project has taught us many things along the way. We are grateful to be part of such an amazing, exciting project. Thank you.